Right, well, I don't think the sound recorded on the first part of this video, so if you hear this part of the video, I found in editing that the sound wasn't there on part 1, and so I'll take picture in picture off. And so what are we doing? Well, today we're doing the President Jackson 2 Classic, which is an AM/FM SSB set. Now, we don't do SSB sets, and this belongs to a customer who is a very good trade customer, and I think this is his own radio, and he's bought this new, and he's found that the performance on FM 20 on UK channels is dire, so that's why it's here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the service manual, which he downloaded for me. I said it's entirely up to you to get a service manual because I'm not going to. If you want me to do it, I'll need the manual, and he did. So I said to him, well, what we can do to help you is we will service the AM and FM portions of the radio, and that's where it stands. The SSB circuits will not be touched. The reason I'm saying that, I know we don't do SSB, I know this channel distinctly says in the blurb this is an SSB free zone. It stays that way, but one of the big reasons, apart from my total lack of interest in SSB, is that our test equipment, and we've got 4 benches, 5 benches, whatever we've got, they're all AM and FM. So we're not geared up to do SSB. Now, to verify the adjustments, I would want there to be an SSB capable signal generator. I don't have one, I'm not going to buy one, and so we don't do SSB. And on transmit you need a 2-tone oscillator, and I could probably make one for 40 quid, but again, we don't do SSB, so I don't need a 2-tone oscillator. So that's the whole point. So I said to him, we'll do it, but we will not touch the SSB circuits. Now, of course, things like setting the frequency, which I did in part 1, which I don't think has any sound, so you won't see that. I went through the alignment procedure, and so step 1, AM/FM, step 2, AM/FM, step 3, AM/FM, step 4 we skipped because it's LSB, step 5 we skipped because it's USB, step 6 we skipped because it's SSB. We did step 7, and we had to adjust that slightly with L273 to put the radio on frequency, and then we checked it, verified it was on frequency with step 8, and then I think we had sound by the time we went to the next page, which was aligning the transmitter. So we've gone through the AM/FM stages, we've skipped the SSB stages, and so the radio is now tuned up. So what you also didn't see was when I went through it, it came delivering 2.9 watts on AM and FM. So that is par for the course, isn't it? All these new sets doing really low power, and the deviation is 1.4 kilohertz. So that was no wonder he can't hear anybody. Nobody can hear him. With it down there. So we've reset that to 2.2 to 2.5. The receive we found to 0.3 microvolts for 12 decibel, and we've just about got 0.28 out of it. So it's a tiny improvement. So check the S meter is calibrated. It was. I've just touched it a smidging, as they would say, and there we are. So the big disappointment is when I press transmit on this radio, it is drawing something like 3.5 amps to do 3.5 watts. So if we cast the clock back and we go to the 1981 sets, most of those sets will deliver 4 watts for between 1 and 1.2 amps. So I accept the newer generation sets have got CPUs running the show and slowing down a lot of functions, but you get more functions at no extra cost because of the CPU. So it depends what interests you, doesn't it? If you want loads of things that aren't necessary, then But so those newer sets are drawing between 1.8 and 2.3 amps to deliver the 4 watts of transmit. But this particular radio, with its SSB on FM, is drawing 3.5 amps. We had to use a different power supply to we normally use because these benches normally we're not doing anything which draws more than 3 amps. All the power supplies on the benches are 3 amps, other than one power supply which is capable of 18 amps, and that's for when we're doing business radios, because although the business radio limit in this country is 45 watts, it's 25 watts on both VHF and UHF, subject to what your license says, of course. Some of the radios are 45 watt capable, and you have to tune them up to 45 watts and then turn them down. So we need to be able to do about 10 amps, so that's why we have an 18 amp power supply. So there we are, that's it, and this will now pass on to the second section where I started tuning up the transmitter. So sorry it's happened like this, but we had another power glitch here and I saw there was no sound. I've come back to this radio the next day and I see there's no sound on the mixer. So have we had a power glitch which has cancelled it, or didn't the first part of this video get recorded? So here we are on the President, whatever it is. I've got the service manual in front of me, and we got to step 8. So with the service manual, we've checked all the AM FM things. We're not going to touch the SSB. We do not do SSB radios. And I was able to adjust the frequency slightly at test point 5, and we're just about to move forwards, and so that was the VCO I was setting as per the service manual. So I'm just about to start step 8, which is working with the transmitter. So step 8 is for USB and Russia, so we're not doing that. Step 9 is for AM and FM E. So it says we're supposed to be doing 3.8 watts. We got to the stage yesterday when our power supply is 3 amps and this radio is drawing more than 3 amps to even do 3.5 watts, and it came out of the box doing 2.9. So I've done that recap in case this is where the video is going to have to start if the sound has crashed. So I'm just plugging this into our other power supply. We have a hefty power supply for business radios. Is picture in picture on? No, but it will be in a moment. There's our frequency display. We'll just go over to that. So 4 watts will be there. It's 3.2 watts. We need to adjust RT216 if it will go. I think it was second from the left if I remember yesterday. Yep. So key up. Our tannoy system in the background is a bit high today. So 3.6 is as high as it's going. Just make sure variable power's on full. It is. Yep, 3.6 of our watts. Go to AM. That's what we're already in. We'll just check the power on FM while we're at it. 3.5 watts. Back to AM, so it's on CPT. This is now step 10. RT215. Yep. That has no effects, which I half expected, because that's left over from when AM was 1 watt. Yep, so that's not having any effect. So our next step in the manual is step 11, which is for Russia. Skip that. Step 12, Europe. So we're going to do modulation. That's AM modulation. So switch our test set to AM, and they want it to be 90% with 203. We'll have to look at the layout for 203. Yep, 203, 204. There's 203. So I'll just have to tune in the modulation meter first. Oh dear. So in fact I'm going to have to reset this to AM, which is so frustrating. Reset it for CPT channels. So I'll switch it off, F, switch it on, suppose it's EC. That didn't work. Try EU. That's it. That's AM. That's it. Right. Channel 20. We'll just go back on that low power thing and just make sure that I wasn't wrong. So it was RT215, that one. No, that's staying put, that's fine. Okay, so RT203 for AM mod. Wallow, 1 2 1 2, wallow, 1 2 1 2. That's over the top. That needs to come down a fraction. Get a little oscillator out. So RT203, they want it to be 85%. And that's about where it is. And then, oh, I'm totally wrong. They want RT452 to be 90%. I think it's the one on the left, which is down here. That one. That's right. So that's now there. 1 2 1 2. And then check. So that's 452, then 203. Which is the one on the right there. For they want it to be a maximum of 88%. There we have it. So now I want you to go over to FM, which we will do with pleasure, and 451, and they want it to be 2 kilohertz. We want it to be 2.2. There's 451. So switch to FM. And see where it is at the moment. 1 to 1, about 1.5. Four 5.1 is there. Put that back on. Well, it does have enough. It is okay. Wallow, 1 to wallow. That's okay. So that's now 2.2 to 2.5. I want you to adjust RT212, which is supposed to be the RF meter. So RT212. Yep, there we are, 212. So when we press transmit, so it's with the centre of the red zone. There we go, that's back to top of fraction. Right, so now we're moving over to the receiver. So we don't need to use a sine meter, we can use maximum recovered audio, but we want a sine meter and we will go through the coils shown here, L2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16, 14 and 15 in that order. And then the next page shows us where they are. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then 7, 16, 14, 7, 16, which is the detector, 14, 15. No, that's 15. 16, 14, 15. No, that's shape 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16, 14, 15. Let's give that a go. We may as well do it on FM. Okay, so we've got the signal generator into the correct position. That's the frequency showing 205. There we are. So we'll switch to the sine meter. Set this to about 4 dB. It says channel 20. This is not right, because if you're going to use UK, it needs to be channel 40. So we're going to reset this. So 27.99125. No, 405, isn't it? Here we are, 27205. So I've got 4 dB on the cyanide meter, and we'll switch over to that. So coil 2. Coil 3. Coil 4. Five, 6, different tool. There we go. 16, 14, 15. I don't think we've gained anything. Just doing 0.27 0.28 microvolts for 12 dB. So there's a slight improvement. We can't do... We're not doing USB. Now onto FM. Us to look at test point 6 and adjust L17. So that's that one. I wonder if this is the detector. Switch the signal generator on, not the signal generator, the oscilloscope. I'm not quite sure where we got to. We were adjusting maximum recovered audio for L17. I don't know whether we did that. It says to set for 3.4 volts, but we're going to use instruments because I think that's going to be a better outcome. So we'll switch the picture-in-picture to the oscilloscope. Turn the bench light off. There we are. We've got a reasonable trace there, and we'll just make sure that's maximum, and it is. Right, we'll go to the cyanide meter. You could tune up for maximum audio, preferably with a meter rather than an oscilloscope, because you can do this on FM. I'm doing this on FM for my convenience. It says to do this on channel 20 CPT, but this customer is going to use this on EU channel. He's going to use this on UK channels, so I'm doing this on channel 1. Oh no, we've gone on to CPT, haven't we? So we're on channel 40 of CPT. That's what we're doing. I've remembered. So I'll pop the squelch down. We've got very good sensitivity already. We'll put that to about 4 dB synode on the synode meter, and let's go. So L2. Slight improvement. L3. No improvement. L4. L5. Drop the attenuator a bit. L6. L7. L16. Change tools. I think that's probably best. A bit more signal on for that one. L14. L15. Okay, so let's see where we are now. So we're at 0.3 of a microvolt, and there's no change there. So the next adjustment is for SSB, so we're not doing that. FM we've already done. Squelch. I know how I want this to be. And that's too harsh. It's got 100 microvolts on the signal generator, and I need to adjust this till it comes in. So it's RT1. So we'll find RT1. RT1's there. Which is not helping at all. That's the maximum I can get. So it's what? Somewhat harsh at 1.5 millivolts on full squelch, but at least it does open. So let's see how it is at the sensitive end of the scale. So we'll turn the signal generator to 0.3 of a microvolt. We'll park it there and switch the signal generator to standby. Set the squelch to threshold. Signal generator on. Let's see where it is. So it's coming in at 0.6 of a microvolt. dropping off at 0.55, in at 6, 0.55. Not a lot of hysteresis, but the sensitivity should be adequate. So that's squelch. So the next stage is step 5. I'll just turn the volume down. Is USB, so we're not touching that. The next one is RT131. And this is for auto squelch. So go to AM. So how do we select auto squelch? Oh, I think we turn the squelch to that. Yep. And that's coming in at 1 microvolt. So if we wanted to adjust the auto squelch, then it's RT4, and RT4 is this one here. So whereas RT1 was that one, RT4 is that one. Next, it's a USB adjustment. So what we want to do now is to set the S meter, and they're doing this in AM mode. So it's RT4, which is there. Let's put 100 microvolts on the signal generator. RT4 is there. You know, it's actually spot on, but just for the fun of it, yeah, that's it. RT4 for the S meter. Out of interest, does it still read the same in FM? Just about. You get a fag paper between it, probably. Then the S meter for SSB, they do on upper sideband with adjustment are RT3, so we're not touching that. And then USB, what's it doing here? The final adjustment. Just turn the volume down. So we're not doing this, but I just will see what it says. Okay, here you're adjusting coil 151 for maximum voltage on test point 10. And that's it. So, for all this money, he's got a radio that does, what, 3.8 watts did we get? Let's go back to there. Press transmit. 3.5 watts. Now I wonder if it's voltage sensitive. I'm just going to very carefully turn the voltage up. It's not my set to do this. No, it's well regulated, so it doesn't change. So that's it. I think that's all we can do to help. So his receiver is still the same. I've adjusted the squelch slightly. We've brought the transmit power up from 2.9 watts to 3.5 watts. Bearing in mind that's on our industrial meter. If I put it on a Zitagi meter, I wonder what we get. So we're getting 4.5 watts on a Z-target meter on FM, and on AM we're getting the same, 4.5 watts on the Z-target meter. So it depends what meter these things are read on. So we'll put it together. Okay, so we're now on the aerial. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is to turn it back onto UK channels. So switch it off, put it to F, switch it on. Switch it off, switch it back on again, and hey presto, we're on UK channels for FM, and then it'll go to CP channels for AM and the sideband ones. One on a Roger. Right, we'll have a quick flick round. We have some farmers use Channel 9 about 4 miles away. Somebody on 12 about 30 miles away. There's no point going around the CPT channels, there won't be anybody there. And I can't find any band plan as to officially what's supposed to be FM and what's supposed to be AM and what's supposed to be SSB over those 40 channels. So just keep well alone. So we're doing on the air test as we normally do, with it being an FM radio, and we'll see how it works. So it's not particularly, I mean it is, don't get me wrong, it's a sensitive set, but 0.3 microvolts can be bettered by some sets from 40 years ago. So don't think for a moment that you're paying extra money and getting better range on FM, because you're not. So there you have it, President Jackson 2 Classic, which is a current model in 2021. Thank you for watching.